What's going on, everybody? I'm Patrick from POWLAX and welcome to the POWLAX Backyard. In this video, we're going to be talking all about catching. This is the POWLAX Backyard, where I'll be teaching techniques and how to fix common mistakes by showing you ways to improve your game at home. Before we get started, I'd like to thank all of the POWLAX members whose generous contributions make these videos possible. We believe that the best way to improve and grow the lacrosse landscape is by educating players, parents, and coaches with the information they need to be successful so they can enjoy the sport. That's why all of the POWLAX videos are free to watch anytime, anywhere. If you enjoy the POWLAX content and want to help contribute to their creation, consider becoming a member at POWLAX.com. For just $5 a month, you gain access to the entire POWLAX playbook, a series of PDFs that accompany all the POWLAX videos. Once again, thank you to all of the POWLAX members. Now let's get back to the video. As we begin to talk about catching, the first thing we're going to talk about is how exactly we are going to catch the ball. And it's pretty simple. We want to position the face of the head of the stick in a location that the ball is going to move through before the ball gets there, right? So as I throw the ball off the bounce back, I position my stick in a place the ball is going to move through. The ball hits the pocket of the stick, and I've just caught the ball. And now, what we want to focus on having players do is catching the ball without trying to make additional movement. And what you'll see is a lot of players are going to try to go out and grab the ball. But if we relate this to a bunch of other sports, you think about wide receivers in football, you think about outfielders in baseball, and you think about just players in basketball, they're not going to move out to go get the ball unless there's a defenseman who is trying to get the ball, or they just have to move into a space where they can then catch the ball. What they're going to do is they're going to wait for the ball to come to them. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that as we catch the ball, we allow our stick to catch the ball and then begin to move. Now, the key here is that I want to think about the space in front of me like a pane of glass. And I need to make sure that my stick stays open to the direction the ball is coming, regardless of where it goes. So if I think about trying to catch a ball and the ball kind of comes lower, I want to make sure that the face of the stick is open even though it's low. So if I can think about that, I kind of want to position and move my stick like a goalie with the face of my stick flat on that pane of glass so that I can get to the spot that the ball is going to move through. Now that's going to be pretty tough for a lot of younger players because as they move their hands back and forth, they're not used to positioning their wrists correctly, and they're kind of going to close off their stick so that as they try to catch it, it might hit the side of their stick instead of actually going in the pocket because the face of the stick's not open. Now, if we're not going to go out and snatch the ball, one thing we might do is just kind of have the bottom of the stick be out front a little further so that the ball does have a place to sit. Because if I try and position my stick like this, now the ball's obviously not going to stay in the stick. Now, if I'm working with a player who is struggling to keep the face of their stick open, or they're just having trouble with the idea of controlling the head of their stick with their hand on the shaft, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them drop the stick and just use their hands. And I'm going to ask them a question. Have you ever played baseball, football, basketball? If they answer yes, I'm going to say, cool, catch this ball. I'm going to toss them the ball like this, and hopefully their hand will track to the ball. That means it's not a problem of their eyes tracking the ball. It's just the fact that they're not used to having the stick in their hands. Next, I'm going to say, well, how are you taught to catch in that sport? And a lot of them will either just put their hand up like a mitt for baseball, or they'll do diamonds for football or basketball. And so what I'm going to say is just grab the head of the stick like this. And then as I toss them the ball, they're naturally going to keep the face of the stick open because that's the same as the palm of their hand in that other sport. Once the player gets the hang of catching the ball with their hand on the head of the stick, we'll have them move their top hand down so that they are just choking up. When we choke up, we mean we're going to move both of our hands up the stick. We might expose our butt end, but because our hands are closer to the head where the ball is, we're going to have more control regardless of whether it's catching, throwing, cradling, anything like that. Now those basics are going to allow you to catch in any scenario, but as we move through this video, we're going to talk a little more specifically. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the idea of presenting your stick. Now, lacrosse is played played on a horizontal plane. As I throw the ball is moving horizontally. It may go up or down a little bit, but it's always horizontal. And the first thing you see parents do when their kid has a stick is they toss them the ball like this, and the ball ends up moving downward, so they put their stick like this. Now, we don't want to do that at all. We want to have players present their stick with their stick vertical so that the horizontal pass can be caught. In this drill from our Learn to Lax sessions, I'm tossing the ball to the collarbone of the player as they are running by me so that they get used to the idea of having their stick up to catch it rather than down by their hips. Parents should do the same thing. If players are frightened of the ball, use tennis balls or toss the ball to their collarbone. As they're doing that, we want to make sure that they're presenting their stick in front of their face so that they have the ability to move their stick on that pane of glass in any direction. So if I throw the ball here and I have the ball come across my body, which we're going to get into next, I want to be able to move my stick across my face without having to move it in front of my head and then across my face, or heaven forbid, from my waist to across my body. Now that we've positioned our stick in front of our body so that we have the most mobility, now we want to put our stick in a position where we're going to be able to make the most actions after we catch it. So I like to think of windows around the head. That's how Matt Brown teaches it. You can also think of a box that kind of comes down your head and out your shoulder. But for the most part, it's anywhere near your head is where you want to present your stick so that when the ball comes back to that spot, you catch the ball in a position where you can take action like shoot or pass after you catch it. If a ball is thrown across my body, we've got the same exact keys. I want to make sure that the face of the stick stays open as I move my hand across my body. I want to allow the stick to hit. And now here's a thing that you're going to see a lot of players do. They're going to catch the ball over here and they're going to snatch at the ball because they're using the same type of cradle that they would have used if the ball would have come on the stick side. I don't like this. I like the idea of if I catch the ball on this side of my body, I'm going to curl my hand over and then get right into my cradling motion rather than keeping the front of my stick exposed, because I really believe in the idea of having the ball facing you as you're trying to control the ball. Now, when we think about catching on the opposite side of your body, you've got the basic opposite side of your body catch. Then you have an offensive term called Snively, where if I'm kind of on a back pipe, I may position my stick here on purpose so that I can catch the ball here because the defenseman is kind of behind me here. The next cross-handed catch we have is over the shoulder, and we're going to get into that when we go into our turn away drill. And for this, the key here is that if we're catching over the shoulder, we want our stick in front of us with our bottom hand to come on the outside of our body. We don't want to end up like this. This is what a lot of players tend to do when you have them catch on the other side of their body. The next idea we're going to talk about is handcuffing. And handcuffing is when the ball is thrown to a position where your hands kind of get in their own way, and it's usually when the ball is thrown right at your chest. Now, as the ball is thrown into me, I can kind of position my hands in a way, but it is very, very awkward. Now we're going to cover some ways you can work on this skill at home. The first activity that we have when we talk about catching is just passing and catching in your backyard. Like my brothers and I and my dad, we used to do this for so long when I was younger, where we would just throw and catch in the backyard. And so I would get a ton of different balls that were thrown really, really high, really, really low. And as I just continued to play, I learned how to track the ball. I learned how to position my stick so that the ball would hit the pocket, and it really just helped. If you don't have two people who want to pass and catch with lacrosse sticks, there's always the possibility of combining two sports and having one player pass and catch with a baseball glove. The other thing is just playing. As you're playing with your family, do things like goalie wars, where you set up two goals and you use tennis balls and you kind of just shoot them at each other, so you can really get used to the idea of tracking the ball. The next drill that we have is just to do quick sticks. And now quick sticks kind of implies that it has to be fast, but I'm here to tell you that it definitely doesn't. So a quick stick is just the fact that when I catch the ball, I make no motion other than catching it before I throw it again. And what this is going to help us work on is not snatching at the ball. So as I get ready to quick stick, I'm going to accept the ball. I can't move from here, so I can't snatch at it. And then I just have to move it from there. And so it doesn't have to be fast. It's just that you don't want to move your stick in any cradling motion as you are throwing, and then you can work up to go faster and faster if you want to, but really it's more about just the idea of accepting the ball in a way where you control it without cradling. The next drill we have is something that I call turn away, and it's basically the idea that we're going to want to be able to throw and catch while we're facing our target. We're also going to want to throw and catch turned one way and then also turned the other way. Now, forward and turned with our stick behind us is relatively easy as far as catching. We're just throwing and catching across our body. Now, once we turn so that our stick is towards our target, now it gets a little more dicey. We're gonna turn our shoulders, point our butt end to throw, and now as we catch, we're gonna wanna throw it so that the ball comes in front of us. And notice how as I throw it and I catch it, the face of my stick stays open the entire time. I position my head so that the ball moves through it. I let the ball hit my stick, and now, once my hand is here and I catch it, I'm gonna curl my hand over, pull it right into my cradle position, and then get right up ready to throw again. The next drill we have is just using a tennis ball. The cool thing about tennis balls is that they're very light. And because they're so light, if there's any bit of like turning to go try to snatch the ball, if the tennis ball hits the side of your stick, it's just gonna bounce out rather than kind of push through it like a normal ball would. So throwing and catching with a tennis ball is highly, highly encouraged. Now the final drill we have is basically just being inventive so that you catch the ball in a way where your next action is really quick. So if I think about shooting and I think about shooting in tight, I'm gonna wanna throw the ball so that I catch it in tight and I'm immediately able to make a fake and finish or do any other kind of action. Now, another one that a lot of players like to do a lot is catching and being able to shoot the ball from wherever they catch from. So as I throw it and I catch the ball, I'm immediately going to take my shot after I catch it, and I'm going to try to do it in one smooth motion. Now, if the ball comes to me kind of lower, I'm still going to shoot from that spot because that's where I caught the ball from. But the key is that as I'm learning how to catch, I want to make sure that I know that I'm ready to make a secondary movement right as I catch the ball. I hope this video has helped you get a better understanding of the game and how to practice at home. If you liked it, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the POWLAX YouTube channel, and follow POWLAX on social media. To watch and learn more, support the POWLAX mission, and download the PDFs that accompany all of the POWLAX videos, head to POWLAX.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.